Hey guys, TommyBryson here and welcome back to the channel and welcome to our annual video that we make every single year about the latest iPhone release, where I try to convince you to not go ahead and upgrade your phone because it's so intriguing to see people basically spend $1,000 every single year to get a device with minor improvements that in no way changes their lives whatsoever. Although Apple tries to make it seem like if you don't get this phone, you're not going to be safe. If you don't get this phone, you're not going to be secured. If you don't get this phone, you're not going to be cool or whatever. You're going to be missing out on something. The truth is, most likely, you're not missing out on anything. And if there's one thing I learned along the years is that basically, if you can't get your spending under control, if you can't stop spending money on things you don't need, like buying new iPhones every single year, like eating out every single weekend or every single week overall, you're going to grow old and poor. And your best meal out of the week when you're old and poor is going to be cat food. And I don't even think cats like cat food, okay? So bear with me as I basically go into detail in this video about the reasons why you don't want to upgrade your iPhone. It's not just say don't buy it, but there's a logical system to when to upgrade your phone and how to actually do it. And do me a favor and smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel. By the way, I love Apple products. I have an iPad, I have a MacBook, I no longer have an iPhone, surprisingly. I actually have a Galaxy. More on this later. Now, the first thing, guys, is I like to think about iPhones as tools. Smartphones are tools. Although they seem to be like these personal devices that give you security, that make sure you're safe overall, that give you some type of status symbol overall, they're just small computers that are in your pocket that do tasks that you actually want them to do. So think about phones that way. Don't think about it like this is the latest gadget, the latest and greatest. That's how you grow broke, okay? The truth is that iPhones, if you want a smartphone, it might be a good investment for you because you can actually do a lot with a phone. But there is a good way to actually buy a phone. Every single year when someone buys the latest iPhone, there's usually a hiccup with it, right? Some problem, and then later in the few next months they actually fix it. I think last year was that it was actually overheating or something like that. Something always happens when you buy new devices. So my advice is this: if you want an iPhone, if you want a phone overall, because your phone is just no longer working and you just don't like it anymore and it's just too old and it's cracked and it's dirty, the answer is going to be, well, get a used phone. Right now, the latest iPhone 16 is going for around $800 and upwards to like over $1,000. While if you get the latest, like if you get the last year's, which is basically the iPhone 15 or the iPhone 14, you could actually get it for like around $200 to $300 off. Another tip that I basically learned is not just buying used phones, but learn how to buy phones that are just the generic versions. Don't get the iPhone Pro. 99% of us, we don't actually need the extra camera, the extra quality, and all that stuff because honestly, we're just taking pictures of cats, food, and just random photos, okay? If I showed you guys my Google Photos, you would be like, why did you have an iPhone Pro for so long? It just doesn't make sense. We're not photographers. If you actually wanted to take photography seriously or videography seriously, you would not be buying an iPhone. You would be buying a DSLR camera, which can go for a lot less than an iPhone, which is kind of crazy if you ask me. Now, another tip, guys, is actually this. Get the phone with the lowest storage, okay? And that right now is about 128 gigs. If you need 512 gigs or for example, a terabyte of space, it most likely means that you basically have a bunch of clutter, not just on your phone, but also in your life where you have a house full of things you basically don't need and don't use. You probably have like 100 pair of socks, honestly. But the main thing is that I've learned that if I get 128 gigs, the base model and also a used phone, I can usually save like half to almost like 70% off a lot of the time. So this phone goes for like around $800. I got it for $350. I saved a lot of money because of that tactic. And the thing is, guys, you don't need your phone to be filled with things you don't need. I know people that have like hundreds of gigs of photos that they never look at. For what? Just delete it. And don't be paying storage for cloud like $10 a month. That's like almost like $120 a year. Don't do that. Just basically delete the things you don't need and make peace with not having it any longer. That's my advice and the best way to actually buy a phone. Now, the second thing, guys, I actually want to talk about is something that most people will not talk about, and it's basically you can't afford what it costs to have an iPhone. And here's what I mean. Buying an iPhone has an upfront cost of around $800 if you're paying new for it, okay? New prices, iPhone 16, about $800. But on top of that, it has an ongoing cost of actually having a cellular plan of usually like $30 to $70 depending on the cell phone provider you actually want to go with. But on top of that, it also has a hidden cost that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's going to be your phone usage. The average person spends around 4 hours on their phone every single day. They don't take days off their phone, like they take days off of work. So if you do the math, 4 hours a day over 12 months, it's around 1,460 hours every single year. If you make $20 an hour, guys, that's about $29,200 that you are spending on your phone if you are actually getting paid for those hours. You can't afford it. I can't afford it. And that's why I quit using my phone like I used to. I use it more as a tool to receive messages, to basically send calls, but my phone is not a device for entertainment and to watch nonsense. I try my best to stay away from it because it is a massive distraction. Now, what do? You fight the battle. If you want to win this battle, there will be sacrifices. So I'm the only person that I know personally that I've been upgrading in reverse. So let's just call it degrading for the most part. I went from having an iPhone 14 Pro Max to having, for example, an iPhone 13 mini. From having an iPhone 13 mini to an iPhone 13 Pro. iPhone 13 Pro to having, for example, an iPhone SE. Because I kept trying the iPhone thing. I just wanted to find a device that would make me use my phone less, and it wasn't working. And then I basically found the Galaxy S23. And I have a lot of apps that can basically block me out completely from using the things I don't want to use, which is actually very helpful. But my next phone is probably going to be a Google Pixel phone. Not because I like the camera, not because I like the phone design, but because I like the ability of installing a custom ROM on it. So what that means is I can install my own ROM, basically like the own the installation platform, my own platform on this device, and I can make it so it only takes calls and it only uses GPS. I can turn my smartphone into a dump phone while still having, for example, a good camera and a good battery life without having to go into the flip phone world, which I want to avoid, honestly. Now, here's the third thing I want to talk about, okay? And by the way, I should add that with all the free time I've been saving by not using my phone as much as I used to, I spend that time trying to learn Python, which is a coding language. I also spend that time talking and communicating and just doing things with my wife, which is actually awesome for a relationship. And I also spend that time trying to get my health in order by working out, walking, and watching what I eat more. I'd rather that than spend my life looking at pixels. Spending so much time on your phone is not healthy, and it shows. Now, the third reason why I don't recommend you actually upgrade your phone is going to be it still works. If your phone is still working, there is no need to replace it. I want you to think about your phone like a stove or like a toaster. If you have a toaster or if you have a stove, it doesn't really matter how old it is, right? It just matters that it's still working. And the only time you actually replace it is when it actually breaks down. Or, for example, when it costs more to repair it than the value of the item. So let's say, for example, you have an iPhone X, which right now they go for about $100 to $200. If the screen is cracked and the battery is garbage, what do? Do you replace it? Or do you basically just keep it and fix it? How do you go about making this choice? Well, I have a website and it's called fixeasy.com. I might link it. And if you go on the website, you can actually get a screen replacement and a battery replacement, depending on the quality you actually want for the item. It costs you like 70 bucks to get the screen fixed and also get the battery fixed, okay? And you can install it yourself if you actually are savvy, or pay someone else to do it, and you just run the math, okay? So if it costs me 70 bucks to get the phone back in working condition like I want to, and replacing it might cost me 100 or 200, obviously I'm going to fix it because it makes a lot more sense. However though, if I have, for example, a Google Pixel 4a like my sister does, right? Well, her phone doesn't cost that much money, but the screen to replace costs over $100. So that means I rather replace the phone because it costs too much money to get a part replaced. That's the idea. So only replace the phone when it becomes more expensive to fix the parts than to replace the item. That's the idea. Look at phones as tools. Don't look at phones as things that symbolize status, symbolize that you're savvy at photography and all this nonsense. That's things that basically Apple likes because they make money off of you with that attitude. Again, it doesn't make sense to upgrade. Just buy used. Don't buy new phones ever. On top of that, most of us can't afford to actually own a phone because of the ongoing costs along with it. Lastly, if it still works, why replace it? Thanks for watching this video, guys. I actually hope it helps you. I think I'm one of the only people here on YouTube that basically makes a video every single year and tries to warn you about giving in to the temptation of buying a phone. Although I make these videos every single year, I look at the new iPhone, I look at what it has, and every single year I feel tempted to buy it. And that's why every single year I make this video again to remind myself I don't need it. It doesn't make sense. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Subscribe and see you next year. Peace.